In Dinosaur Island, 2 to 4 players compete to build the biggest and most exciting dinosaur zoo and theme park while minimizing the amount of patrons that get eaten each season. The player at the end of the game with the most points is the winner. To set up the game, place the marketplace, research center, and track boards in the center of the table. Set the money, modifier tokens, dinosaurs, and paddock tiles within reach of all players. Add all visitor meeples to the included bag. Randomly select 2 DNA dice per player, then draw 1 more. Return the rest to the box. Shuffle the specialist cards, attraction tiles, and regular lab tiles and place them face down in their respective spots on the market board. Set the Dino Research 2 and DNA Refinement 2 lab upgrades face up in their reserved slot. Seed the market by drawing the top 4 tiles in each category separately. Arrange them by price, if applicable. Highest costs in the $5 row and lowest in the $2 row. Separate the Dino recipe tiles into large carnivores, small carnivores, and herbivore piles. Shuffle and place the piles face down in their respective spots on the Research Center board. Then flip the top tile from each stack face up. Decide if you would like to play a short, medium, or long game. Take all the corresponding objective cards and shuffle. Draw a card for each player in the game, +1, and place them face up in the game area. If at any point a player completes one of these objectives, they place one of their corporation tokens on that card and it can no longer be claimed by another player. If 2 players claim it simultaneously, they share it. When there's only 1 objective card left unclaimed, players finish the current round and the game ends. Shuffle all plot twist cards and draw 2. These 2 plot twists will alter some rule of the game. If the second plot twist contradicts the first, redraw it. Give each player a lab board, a park board, 9 worker meeples, 3 scientists, 5 corporation tokens, 6 limit cubes, 10 marker cubes in their color, and decide on the first player. Give that player the first player marker. The first player receives $15, the second receives $16, the third $17, and the fourth $18. Each player should place their park and lab boards in front of them, with the park board to the right. Place 4 workers on the corporate logo on their lab board. Set 1 worker on the turn order track based on turn order. Set the rest off to the side to be earned later in the game. Place your 3 scientists above your lab. Place a limit cube at 4 on each of the basic DNA on the left, and set limit cubes on 2 for each of the advanced DNA tracks on the right in your cold storage section of the board. Then place a marker at 1 in each of the basic DNA and 0 on each of the advanced DNA. Add a dinosaur on the pre-printed paddock on your park board. Put a marker on the 1 spot of the excitement on the track board. Place another marker on the 10 on the score track. Place a marker on 1 on the threat track as well, indicating the threat the dinosaur in your park poses. Add a marker to the 1 spot of your security track. Okay, all set up. Dinosaur Island is played in rounds. Each round is comprised of 5 phases that you keep repeating until the end game is triggered. Research phase. The first player rolls all the chunky dice and places them at the top of the research center so there's 1 dice per slot. In turn order, each player assigns one of their scientists to do one of a number of actions. This phase continues until each player has had 3 turns. The actions that can be taken are as follows. 1. Research DNA. Assign a numbered scientist to one of the DNA dice. Multiply the number on the scientist token with the number of DNA symbols on the die, and add that much DNA type to your lab. However, you can never have more than your DNA cap allows. There are 2 non-DNA symbols that can be claimed in this way as well, both of which must be claimed by the number 3 scientist. The dinosaur symbol allows you to upgrade a paddock's capacity, and the worker symbol allows you to gain a worker from your supply. 2. Increase cold storage. Players can assign a scientist to the cold storage research spot. In so doing, they may immediately increase the cap on any of their DNA tracks a number of times equal to the number of their scientist used. This can be split between different DNA tracks. 3. Procure dinosaur recipes. This phase will always have 3 dinosaurs available for research. To research a dinosaur, players must place a scientist next to the one they would like to research. That scientist must be equal to or greater than the number printed on the board. Once researched, place that dinosaur in the park in a space that will fit the tile. Do not place a dinosaur meeple. 4. Pass. Players may pass. If they do so, they may take a scientist and place it in their worker pool to be used as an extra worker in the worker phase. At the end of this phase, evaluate the dice that have not yet been claimed, if there are any, and take the one with the most threat pips indicated by the dots in the corner and move it to the holding area in the top right corner. The market phase. In this phase, players alternate in turn order taking actions in the marketplace until all players have taken 2 turns. Actions that can be taken are 1. Hire a specialist. Players can hire a specialist by paying the cost indicated for the row that the tile is currently in. In most games, you can have a maximum of 3 hired specialists. This means, should you want another, you'll have to fire one of your existing specialists by removing them and their effect from the game. 2. Build an attraction. To build an attraction, you must pay both the cost of the row that the tile is in and the cost listed on the attraction itself. When you do this, immediately place the attraction in your park. 3. Buy a lab upgrade. Lab upgrades can be purchased the same way as specialists. Once purchased, you may place them on any slot in your laboratory, even covering up other upgrades. The exception to this is with the Dino Research 1 space and the DNA Refinement 1 space. These slots can only be covered by their upgraded tiles, and these tiles are always available in the marketplace. 4. Purchase DNA. Consult the market board to purchase DNA. Players will end up paying between $2 to $5 to the bank. When this is done, players discard 1 tile from the same row that the DNA price is listed, never discarding the special tiles. 5. Pass. Players can choose to pass. If they do so, they take $2. Worker phase. In this phase, players' actions only affect their own park, so turns can be taken simultaneously. Unless indicated otherwise, spaces can only be used once and have slots indicating where to place a worker. Based on a player's lab upgrades, a number of possible actions can be taken. Here are the major ones. 1. Refining DNA. DNA is separated into Basic, the 3 on the left, and Advanced, the 3 on the right. This lab tile allows you to spend 2 basic DNA to gain 1 specific advanced DNA. 2. Create dinosaurs. This action allows players to pay for the DNA cost for any dinosaur tiles in their park and add a dinosaur to that paddock. Corresponding paddocks must have the correct capacity. If it does, pay the DNA from the cold storage and add a dinosaur to that tile. When a dinosaur is added to the park, increase the excitement level by the number in the triangle symbol on the dinosaur tile. Additionally, your threat level is increased by the threat pips on the tile. 3. Increase security. If your security level is less than your threat level during the next phase, that's how people get eaten. To prevent this from happening, you can take the action to increase security, if a tile allows you to increase security by 1. When taking this action, consult the price chart next to the security tracker on your lab board to see what you must pay to increase the security. There are modifying tokens to use should you need to have the security higher than 10, though the cost stays at that $5 level after that point. 4. Upgrade paddock capacity. Paddocks in your park can only hold 1 dinosaur unless you activate certain lab upgrades. When you do this, choose a dinosaur in your park and add a paddock tile for the next level up. Cost of upgrading is equal to the size of the new paddock, with a maximum capacity of 4 per paddock. Park phase. In the park phase, players draw visitors that will queue up to see the dinosaurs and possibly get eaten. In turn order, players draw out visitor meeples from the bag, equal to their park's excitement level, with a maximum of 20. Gold are paying customers, and purple are hooligans that sneak into the park. Once a player has drawn all of their visitors, they place them at the entrance to their park and collect $1 per patron. Purple hooligans, however, don't pay anything. Placing hooligans first, a player assigns guests to attractions within their park. Spaces indicate how many of each can be placed there. For dinosaur attractions, the space available is equal to the number of dinosaurs in that attraction. Once the park is full, the remaining meeples stay in line outside the park. After all players have taken their turn, it's time to see if security was up to snuff. Players take the threat level indicated in their lab, then add the pips from the dice that was set aside earlier in the turn. This is how each player calculates their threat level for the round. They then compare that number to the security level. If the security level is equal to or greater than the threat level, nothing happens. If the threat level is greater than the security level, then it's dinner time for the dinos. The number of visitors that are eaten is equal to the difference between a player's security level and the threat level. Paying patrons must be eaten before hooligans. Should the security threat be so great that your entire park full of guests is eaten, the dinosaurs will start eating the guests lined up outside of your park. Eaten visitors will get returned to the bag, and the player will lose 1 victory point per eaten visitor. After the catastrophe, in turn order, players score 1 victory point for each surviving patron at an attraction within the park. Hooligans and guests outside the park do not score any points. Patrons at food stands can be exchanged for either 1 victory point or $2. The final phase is the cleanup phase. During the cleanup phase, players prepare for the next round in a number of ways. 1. Reset turn order. The player with the fewest victory points becomes the first player, with the second player being the second to last place player, and so on until the player with the most points is in the last turn order spot. Adjust the turn order track accordingly, and give the new first player the first player marker. 2. Refresh the market. Discard items left in the $2 row on the market board. Slide all remaining items on the market board upward so that the cheapest slots are filled. Next, fill any slots that are empty on the market from corresponding stacks without arranging by price. 3. Reveal new dino recipes. Any dino recipe stack that has a face-down tile on it because of a selection from a previous round has the top tile flipped up to reveal a new recipe. 4. Return workers and scientists. Players take and return all of their used scientists and workers back to their starting spots. 5. Remove visitors. Take all patrons and hooligan meeples and return them to the bag. 6. Resolve plot twists. The last thing to do each round is to see if the active plot twists have any upkeep. Anything that says that it resolves at the end of each round happens now. Game end. Again, the game ends when all but one objective card have been claimed. The round is finished and players tally up their scores. Each attraction has a victory point value that is added to the score. For dinosaurs, that number is multiplied by the number of dinosaurs in a paddock. For each empty paddock in a park, players lose 10 victory points. Completed objectives are now scored. Money is scored at 1 victory point per $5. In case of a tie, whoever has the most money wins.